Morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in time and space. Welcome to Just the Word TV, and thank you for joining our daily morning devotion. This channel is built on one mission to help you hear what God actually said, not tradition, just the Word. So today we're looking into and we're continuing on the case studies looking at spiritual Baptists as they are found in the Bible. And today we're going to study Joshua, and we're going to look at him from being Moses' assistant to the warrior who led Israel into promise. His journey is a masterclass in what it means to be a spiritual Baptist, someone whose life is completely immersed in God. Our framework for this is the four pillars that we explored previously. First, having a word baptized heart. Next, undergoing spirit and fire refinement. After, prioritizing interchange and trusting the active baptizer. First, looking at pillar one, a word baptized heart. Before Joshua was ever general, he was a student. His entire life was marinated in the Word of God, spoken through his mentor Moses. The Bible tells us in Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 9, that Joshua, son of Nun, and not son of Nun, None, but son of Nun, Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom because Moses had laid his hands on him. This wasn't just a mystical transfer of power, it was an impartation of a lifetime of walking with God. Joshua had a front row seat to every miracle, every judgment, and every law given at Sinai. He saw what happens when the word is obeyed and the tragedy of when it is ignored. So when God formally commissions him, what is the very first most important instruction? It's not military strategy, it's not motivational speech, it's this. From Joshua chapter 1 from verses 7 to 8. It reads, "Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right nor to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful." So God's primary command to the man about to lead a military invasion was stay in the book. The success of the mission, the strength for the journey, the courage for the battles, it was all tethered to his devotion to the word. This is the essence of a word baptized heart. It is an understanding that our strength doesn't come from our own plans or abilities, but from being so saturated in God's truth that his thoughts become our thoughts, his ways become our ways. This wasn't just a one-time instruction. Later, after a major victory, what does Joshua do in Joshua chapter 8 from verses 34 to 35? He gathers all of Israel, men, women, children, foreigners, and reads all the words of the law, the blessings and the curses, just as it is written in the book of the law. He built the nation's future on the same foundation God built him on, the Word. And it leads us to this understanding. Private devotion fuels public victory. Joshua's courage on the battlefield was born in the quiet moments of meditating on the law. Next, looking at pillar 2, fire and spirit and fire refinement. So Joshua's leadership didn't come out of nowhere. It was forged in the fire of affliction and proven through decades of waiting. His defining moment of refinement came long before he was in charge, back in Numbers chapter 14. He was one of the 12 spies sent to scout the promised land. 10 came back with a report of fear. The people are stronger than we are. We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes. But Joshua and Caleb saw something different. They saw God. With clothes torn and grief over the nation's unbelief, they pleaded, "The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." That bold faith, that spirit-filled perspective was not popular. The people wanted to stone them. That experience was a fire. It separated Joshua from the faithless generation. It taught him to stand for God's truth even when he was outnumbered 1,000,000 to 2. For the next 40 years, as that generation wandered and died in the wilderness, Joshua's character was being refined. He learned patience. He learned to trust God's timing. He learned what it cost to follow the Lord when no one else would. This was a spirit and fire refinement, a long, slow burn that prepared him to lead a new generation that would not make the same mistakes as their parents. Without the fire of the spy report and the 40 years of patient waiting, he never would have had the resilience to face the giants in the land. Next, pillar 3, priority of interchange. With Joshua, we see a powerful principle. God always deals with the heart before he deals with the obstacle. Before the legendary battle of Jericho, Joshua has a strange and humiliating encounter. He's surveying the city, probably strategizing, when he looks up and sees a man with a drawn sword. Joshua, the great military leader, asks, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" The man's reply is stunning. "Neither," he said, "but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come. I have now come." So this wasn't about God picking a side. It was about God taking his rightful place as commander in chief. The commander then tells Joshua the same thing God told Moses at the burning bush. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Before a single wall fell, Joshua had to fall to his knees. Before God would deliver the city into his hands, Joshua had to surrender his own plans, his own authority, his very self into God's hands. This was a moment of profound interchange. It was a realignment of his heart from being the leader of the army to being a servant of the true commander. We see the flip side of this principle after the stunning victory at Jericho. In Joshua chapter 7, Israel is shamefully defeated by the tiny city of Ai. Why? Because of Achan's secret sin. There was a spiritual sickness inside the camp that led to failure outside the camp. God tells a devastated Joshua, "Israel has sinned. That is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies." God's focus was and always is on the heart. He stopped the entire national campaign to deal with one man's hidden disobedience. It's a stark reminder that outward success for God is always a byproduct of inner holiness. Walls fall when hearts obey. And and for us to understand this as well, sometimes as much as we may be wanting to do the best as we possibly can, if you are being surrounded by people who have that Achan spirit, who just can't follow the rules of God, can't just take his eyes off of the things that he sees, can't just follow instructions. Understand that sometimes no matter what you do, that permeates within the group. So you have to understand, and you have to be aware of this, because sometimes it may require you to to remove yourself from that group. No matter what you do, you could try to plant the best seed as you possibly can. If it is not backed by the blessing of God, because you have an Achan in your camp, nothing will grow. You may be planting all that you may possibly want to plant, but because you have an Achan in your garden, right? Just the same way as Joshua had an Achan in his garden, and God had to let him realize that. You have an Achan in your garden, and because you have an Achan in your garden, it's going to be difficult for you to continue growing anything within this garden. So understand that you individually may want to serve God, but you have to make sure also that you put yourself in the right spaces so that the seed of God that is within you can grow properly. Because having an Achan in your camp will destroy everything. So next, the final pillar, active baptizer. So throughout Joshua's story, one thing is crystal clear. Joshua is the leader, but God is the hero. Joshua is the instrument, but God is the active baptizer, the one who immerses his people in his power and promise. Think of the crossing of the Jordan River. It was at flood stage, a raging, impassable barrier. God tells Joshua in Joshua chapter 3:7, "Today I will begin to exalt you in the eyes of all Israel, so that they may know that I am with you as I was with Moses." Notice who is doing the action. I will begin to exalt you. Then the moment the priest's feet touch the water's edge, God miraculously dams up the river miles upstream, and the entire nation walks across on dry land. Joshua didn't engineer a bridge. He simply obeyed, and the active baptizer opened the way. Then comes Jericho. The battle plan God gives, from a military perspective, is absurd. March around the city once a day for 6 days. On the seventh day, march around it 7 times, have the priests blow trumpets, and have everyone shout. No battering rams, no siege towers, just marching and shouting. Why? To make it undeniably clear that the victory belonged to God alone. When those walls came tumbling down, no one can say, "Our strategy was brilliant." They can only say, "God did this." Moses brought them out, and Joshua brought them in. But it was the same active baptizer, the same God of covenant faithfulness, who parted the Red Sea and who parted the Jordan River. It was God who delivered them from Pharaoh, and God who delivered Jericho into their hands. Joshua's role was to trust and obey the one who was actually doing the work. In the end, Joshua led Israel into a physical rest in the land. But the book of Hebrews chapter 4 verses 8 to 9 tells us something profound. For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken later about another day. There remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. Joshua's rest was temporary. Christ's rest is eternal. Joshua was a signpost pointing to the true baptizer, Jesus, who leads us out of the wilderness of sin and into the true eternal promised land. So these four pillars aren't just a biography of Joshua. They are a blueprint for our own spiritual walk. A heart baptized in the Word, a spirit refined by trials, an inner life prioritized over outward appearances, and a total reliance on God as the one who acts. So, a reflection question for you. As you look at your own life, which of these four pillars is God calling you to strengthen right now? Is it spending more time in His Word? Is it embracing a trial as a refining fire? Is it dealing with a hidden sin? Or is it surrendering your plans and trusting Him to be the active baptizer? So, you can take 5 minutes today to maybe read and meditate on Joshua chapter 1, verses 7 to 9. Don't just read the words. Ask God to plant them into your heart. Ask him for the same courage He gave Joshua, a courage rooted not in self-confidence, but in His unfailing promises. So I hope this devotion was able to give you some insight into what it means to be a spiritual Baptist, a little bit more into understanding the role of a spiritual Baptist, and the power that the Word has in terms of transforming people, in terms of transforming them. If they may have been meek before, now they're able to confidently speak the Word of God and confidently walk in the presence or walk with the presence of God. So for the next devotion, we're going to discuss the prophet Samuel. And we're gonna learn and we're gonna see how Samuel learned to hear God's voice in a time when it was rarely heard. So until next time, stay grounded, stay humbled, and above all else, stay aligned with just the Word. Thank you.